Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Philip Brooks, lead strategist here at Commexis, and this is Amy, our SEO manager.
Hello.
Hello. We want to talk to you today about net neutrality and the repeal that just occurred. We just found out about it as well as you, but we've gotten a lot of questions about what net neutrality is and what this could potentially mean for you and your business. So I'm just going to briefly go over kind of what net neutrality means and what it can affect going forward, and then we'll sort of close up with what that could potentially mean for your business. First off, net neutrality is a pretty basic principle. It just means that every single site on the internet should get the same amount of traffic based on, everybody should have the same access to the same sites. And the repeal of net neutrality means that your carriers and service providers actually will have the option to not only block certain sites if they don't want to demonstrate them to people on their networks. They can also project pricing based on access to certain sites. So, for example, if you're using a streaming site like Netflix or something like that that's particularly bandwidth heavy, they could potentially charge you extra to access that website. So this really puts a lot of power back in the hands of corporations, especially your ISPs.
Sure, and another good example that I know people have given is the idea, using Netflix as another example, because it's an easy example. If your internet provider maybe has some financial ties to Hulu, maybe they would slow down your Netflix to try to make it less pleasant for you, so maybe you'd switch over to Hulu, or vice versa. Just one of the many scenarios that could come about without net neutrality.
Yeah, and that's a great point for the monopoly portion of it. There's also another monopoly situation where you think about the infrastructure of some of these ISPs and providers out there. In some areas of the country, there are people that are only able to access one provider, and so that gives them really a monopoly in those areas. If they don't have the competition or the choice, they're pretty much beholden to whatever pricing those private providers want to put out there. Some of the arguments for net neutrality are that it would promote competition by allowing, by basically encouraging people to move into these areas and provide an alternative source so they could get more money. But again, if you're an ISP and you want to go into an extremely rural area, I don't see the value of it for the amount of customers that you're going to pull in. So it's sort of a transparent argument in my opinion. But the decision passed today. It was a 3-2 decision. The 3 commissioners on the Republican side voted against net neutrality, and the 2 Democratic commissioners voted for it. So that looks like that was along party lines as well. So I think the important thing to remember is that this hasn't fully gone through Congress yet. So the effects upon you and your business are not something that are going to be immediate, and this is something that still has some opportunity to be sort of re-examined on the part of Congress and things like that. There were no open forums or discussions about this before open to the public, and in fact, if you were watching, they actually evacuated the room briefly because of some threats. So clearly, people are very, very incensed about this decision. My personal opinion is yes. I think it's BS. I think it's terrible that 80% of the country is against this, and yet the FCC has passed it. Hopefully, our congressmen and congresspeople can help to be our voice in the fight against this. So another piece that we need to consider along the monopoly lines is that if you're a small business and you have a competitor that is on a website, it's utilizing the same broadband or the ISP, they could potentially monetize that stream by saying, hey, I want this site to be listed, to have priority over me, and they can charge more. They can basically charge your competitor for that, and you would be, again, as the example that we were talking about earlier about, Hulu and Netflix. Say, for example, you're a small business owner in an area and you're a car dealer. Your competitors could pay to have better service, and it's a big piece that we're missing out on, and it's something that should be very concerning as a small business owner. In closing, we just want to say, as a small business owner, we know what's going on. We understand the legislation as much as anybody can in the public sector, and we're trying to work with our clients to make sure that nothing adversely affects them going forward. So we'll certainly keep an eye on this, and please feel free to ask us any questions you might have, and we'll let you know when it becomes something that you need to be worried about.